Hello and welcome back. In today's video, we've got lots to talk about. 3 new signings. I told you guys to trust me. We are not going to have the same summer like we did last year. We are going to make signings, and we've done exactly that. We didn't just get 1, not 2, we got 3. And 3 players that I'm actually really happy we've managed to bring to the football club. This video is going to be very long. I'm going to leave timestamps in the video description down below and in the comment section, so you guys can skip if you want to and watch certain things at certain parts. I've managed to also get a few supporters from other clubs to talk about these players, as they've watched these players a lot more than I have. So it's a very big video. I do apologise, but lots of information which I think is very important to listen, and also some added context as well. Before I give you my thoughts and we listen to other people's thoughts, smash that like button for me, guys. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 5,000 subscribers before the season starts. And also let me know your thoughts and feelings down in the video comments. So the first player which we are going to talk about out of the 3 is Nahki Wells. Before I give you my thoughts, here's Dave, a Bristol City fan, on his thoughts on Nahki Wells' time at the football club and also him joining Luton.
Hi, this is Dave Fevs from Fevs Football Analytics, Bristol City supporter. Asked to give a bit of insight into Nahki Wells, who've just signed on a free transfer, having been let go by Bristol City at the end of last season. Might be some question marks signing a 35-year-old, but Nahki is fit as a fiddle, really. He's lost little of his real pace, maybe not the blistering pace of maybe 10 years ago, but certainly over the last few years there's been no concerns that he's kind of lost his pace. He's a player I've always liked, actually, from his early days at Bradford when they had that really good League Cup run under Parkinson. But he always seemed to be kind of a year ahead of us in kind of a career move, and we never managed to sign him. I think we'd shown some interest previously, but never came off. I guess he went to kind of clubs who were probably on a better upward profile at that point, in terms like Huddersfield and Burnley. And then in January 2000, we actually did sign him. He was at Burnley at that point, not getting any real game time in the Premier League, and he'd had a pretty successful first half of the season on loan at QPR. I think there was quite a bit of bitterness about the signing at the time, because we kind of took their top scorer off of them at that point. But we did lose Josh Brownhill to Burnley as part of that move. In terms of Nahki's time here in the 5.5 years, he's kind of had a real mixed time, really. But some kind of basic stats: 237 appearances, 146 starts, 48 goals and 19 assists. Those kind of minutes, although 230 odd games in total, he's played around about 146 equivalent 90s, so 48 goals, 19 assists in that is pretty much a goal involvement every other game, which is pretty decent. As I kind of said, he'd had a bit of a mixed time here. Didn't really fit with Famara Diédhiou when he first came in. We were playing a bit of a 4-1-4-1, and we signed a striker, and I'm not sure Lee Johnson knew quite how to fit him in. And then he struggled with Nigel Pearson was first here when we had our infamous WSM, which was Vyman, Semenyo and Chris Martin as a front three, and he basically played second fiddle to those for a season. But he did get a lease of life over the summer of 2022. Chris Martin's legs going, Antoine Semenyo injured, Vyman also coming back from an injury, and he basically partnered Tommy Conway in that season, and really brought on the academy prospect over that season and the following season, both notching kind of double-figure targets, which was pretty impressive. I think a lot of fans would call him a top pro, and I think that's echoed by the players themselves. Most players leaving the club often give a little shout out to Nahki about what a top pro he is. So I think that stands in good stead for his time at Luton as well, and hopefully he can help with not just the younger players there, but some of the senior professionals there as well. He's got a really good work ethic, so hopefully that will work well for you. Last season, I guess, was kind of quite a funny season because he started it really being out of favour. We'd made 2 signings of Fally Mielu and Sinclair Armstrong, and both of those were first choice for the first part of the season. But by October, he became first choice, and he got 10 goals last season and really bailed out recruitment. Really good season from him, and a bit of a shame, I think, for most City fans that he's gone. I think if Liam Manning had stayed, I think there's a good chance Nahki Wells would have stayed, but with a change of manager, it probably made sense to kind of for a fresh start. In terms of Nahki's game style, it's changed from those early days when I first watched him, when he was all about pace and finishing. He's now very much a kind of disruptor to centre-backs. If so any balls kind of played in, a kind of head height down, he's not really trying to necessarily get the ball under. He's trying to make sure the centre-half doesn't win it, and he does that really effectively. His body, he uses that really well, kind of times his backing in pretty smartly. You will see him not hugely involved in kind of general build-up play, but he does like to kind of get the ball into feet, lay it off first time and then run off in behind into space. So not hugely involved in the build-up. He ought to fit quite well with playing off of Elijah Adebayo. Might give him a bit of a lease of life as well. A little bit like when he was playing with James Hansen at Bradford back in the day. But equally, I think his clever movement will be really suitable for people like Jacob Brown and Melenik Ali if they partner him. And also if someone like Cauley Woodrow plays a little bit off of the striker, he'll be quite good at finding Nahki's clever runs. I don't think he'll play every week, but he's got a really good fitness record, and I still think there's plenty of life left in him yet. I'm really pleased he's got a good deal to go, or a good club to go to, and I hope he has a really successful season for you. So that's Nahki Wells in about 5 minutes.
Big shout out to Dave for his thoughts and feelings about Nahki Wells joining us. Nahki Wells, 35 years old, striker, just made under 600 appearances, 170 goals to his name. He's had double figures for 7 seasons in the Championship, which is very good. Last year, he featured 39 times, started 26, scored 10 goals, got 4 assists. What are his strengths? Passing for a striker, finishing, as expected with the amount of goals he has scored in his career. Off the ball, the defensive work, he works very hard for the team. Defensively, he does extremely well. His style of play, he likes to do layoffs and he likes to get stuck in. Reading online, Bristol City had ongoing talks with Nahki Wells on a potential new deal, but of course that didn't end up happening in the end. Whether that was due to playing time or less money, I'm not too sure, but Bristol City were open to keeping Nahki Wells for this upcoming season. So he must still have some sort of legs in him to be able to handle the workload of Championship football. And I think for any League One club to pick up Nahki Wells, I think would be a very good signing, just due to his experience and his proven goal record. I also do think another striker is coming in. I don't think Nahki Wells is the one striker we're going to bring. I do believe another one is coming through. Hopefully before the season starts. If not, it might be before the window does end. But I think Nahki Wells, with his experience, he will bring leadership at the top end. Reading what Matt Bloomfield was saying about Nahki Wells was quite positive. They've got loads of references about him and not one bad thing was said about him. So that, of course, gives the football club some confidence that actually we're not just bringing a player with experience and proven ability to score goals, but we're also bringing in the right type of character to the football club, and I think that's the most important thing here. But yeah, overall, I really like this transfer. Yes, he is towards the latter stages of his career, but that doesn't mean he can't do it anymore. I still believe for any League One club, he would score loads of goals, and if we are going to create loads of opportunities, I think he's got the intelligence to be in the right place at the right time and help us win promotion back to the Championship. The second player which we are going to talk about is Hakeem Odoffin. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I'm not too sure. I will learn how to pronounce his last name in future videos. But Matt, who is a Rotherham fan, has given us his thoughts on Hakeem and what he can potentially do in a Luton shirt.
Hi guys, here's my take on Hacks. Leaving Rotherham United, obviously they're going to Luton Town. I think Luton have got themselves a really good signing there. One of the kindest things you say about me was he excelled in loads of different positions. He was signed originally as a kind of sitting midfielder. It wasn't really used much under Paul Warne. Matt Taylor came in and used him as kind of an attacking midfielder, which nobody expected. And he was just superb. If you watch some of the goals he scored back, he scored after the survival season. Some absolute belters. I don't think there's guys, we've had a player who can hit the ball as hard as Hacks in in quite some time. It was pretty special at times. He scored the goal which confirmed our survival as well, which was a momentous goal for us, having been relegated on consecutive seasons in the Championship. It went on then to move back to centre half because we were so low on players in the relegation season in the Championship. We went and played centre half and was comfortably the best centre half at the club. Same last season in League One. We didn't have a great season, but Hacks was comfortably the best player, easily the best player last year. Most of the season at centre half, he played a little bit in midfield, as when, but again, just injuries dictated that's where he had to play. He took on the captaincy. He wasn't official captain, but Johnson Clark-Harris was constantly injured, so Hacks took on that captaincy, and he fitted in like a glove. He's just that kind of guy that if we interviewed him on our podcast, and he's just a great guy. Just a really nice guy to speak to, and you can understand why the captaincy kind of suited him really, really well. He seems like one of those guys that people gravitate towards from a personal perspective. In terms of his strengths and weaknesses, strength is he's big and strong, but he's also very, very good on the ball. So that's why I think he fits into the modern day defenders kind of role, because he can win everything in the air, especially in League One. But he can also do the job in terms of playing out from the back as well, when we did that very occasionally. His weaknesses are probably he's not the greatest on the ball, so if you do play him in midfield and ask him to knock the ball around, he's not going to do that. But if you play him as a kind of attacking midfielder, he can be a bit of a battering ram and finds himself in those good attacking positions. You'll like Hacks. You will love Hacks. He's such a good player. He's really, really easy to get behind. He's one of those players you can kind of feel yourself get behind. We wish him all the well. Not on those 2 games we'll play you, but we wish him well other than that. So good luck, Hacks.
So Hakeem Odoffin is 27 years old. He won promotion with Rotherham to the Championship. Throughout his time at the football club, he played 139 times. Last season, he played 44 and started 44 games. He got 5 goals and 1 assist. He can play in multiple positions: centre-back, right-back, defensive midfielder, centre-mid. He did play majority of his games as a centre-back. He won Rotherham's Player of the Season award. Rotherham didn't have the greatest of seasons last year, but he was definitely the standout in their season. He was offered a new deal. He turned it down. From reading certain things online, he wanted to move closer back home, which is London. So for once, Luton, the location is ideal for certain footballers. So that's come as an advantage to us. What are his strengths? Winning the ball back, intercepting the ball, aerial battles, blocks, tackling, concentration. His weaknesses, his passing isn't too great, and also his crossing isn't the best. But overall, his style of play is a massive threat from set pieces. He likes to get on the ball and dribble, and defensively, he's an absolute monster. Hakeem is the one player that I'm really excited to see in a Luton shirt. I've been told so many good things about him, so I can't wait to see what he can do, whether that's playing as a centre-back, right-back, defensive midfielder, or as a centre-mid. I think it's so important to have a player that is versatile and can play in multiple positions. And also, if we are going to play different styles of football, whether that's 3 at the back or 4 at the back in this upcoming season, I think he's adaptable. As we know from his multiple playing positions, he can adapt to whatever the system Luton are going to play. And the third player Luton signed today is Nigel Longwick. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. 22 years old. He turns 23 this year. Before I go into detail about him, let's listen to Plymouth Fan Joe and also 2 Huddersfield fans in James and Will.
Hi Lewis, thanks for having me on. Nigel Longvike, promotion winner, title winner down here at Home Park when he was on loan from Wolverhampton Wanderers. Very tall, ball playing centre half, was an integral part of our back line alongside the likes of James Wilson, Macaulay Gillespie and Dan Scarr in that famous title win. Obviously spent last year at Wycombe Wanderers, so has a fair amount of League One experience under his belt and might be the sort of player that Matt Bloomfield has been looking for this summer. As I say, very comfortable with the ball at his feet. Not quite convinced about his aerial prowess despite his height, although I haven't seen him play obviously now for 12 months, so I can confess that he hasn't improved that aspect of his game. In terms of whether or not he'll be a good fit for Luton, obviously he's played with Bloomfield at Wycombe at the start of last season, so it's a match made in heaven there in many respects. They know each other very well, and I'm sure he'll complement what's already a decent back line pretty well on your return to League One.
Hi, Huddersfield Fan here. I think Luton have done great getting Nigel Longwijk and Nahki Wells, former Huddersfield player. I like Nahki. But for Nigel, as he was with us on loan from Wolves last season, I think you've got yourselves a good player there. League One, Virgil van Dijk, as he was known among some fans in Yorkshire. Coming back off an injury, he did have a hamstring injury in March at the end of the season, so you've got to be aware of that. But won the league with Plymouth. Very good player, very good on the ball. Will like to move the ball forward to get built in the attacks, but he's in League One for a reason. There's a mistake in him every 4 or 5 games where you think, he probably could have got back quicker, or just been a bit firm with a tackle, and it did cost a goal a couple of times in matches. We saw it, but for the most part, very steady, really good. Just with the ball at his feet, very calm. He does what you'd expect a League One Van Dijk to do. So I think it's a very good acquisition. I think Luton have done a good job this season, and I'm looking forward to seeing how our teams compete and line up against each other, because we both seem to be title favourites and bring on a season. But yeah, good acquisition, Longwijk. I'd have taken him back at Huddersfield. That's the biggest compliment I can give him. I'd have taken him again this season.
If I had to describe Nigel Longwijk, I would probably use the phrase raw talent. He has a lot of talent and a lot of skill, but parts of his game are still very raw right now, which makes sense because he's still quite young at 22, going on 23. So he's still quite a way off the age where you'd consider someone to be at the peak, especially as a centre-back. Strength-wise, probably his biggest one is his speed, which helped us out a lot last year. Speed is really helpful in this league. And if you're going to be the more dominant side, having that protection from counter-attacks is really helpful. And that's where he'll support you. He is pretty good offensively. He's probably the best player on the ball I've seen at Town in terms of centre-backs. He would often dribble it through to midfield and up onto the wing, helping out our attacks. And he was really good at picking a pass. His assist he got last year was a really well-placed pass through to Callum Marshall. Unfortunately, the passing can perhaps sometimes lead to a bit of overconfidence, where he'll give the ball away with a poor pass or one that's trying to be too fancy. But on the whole, passing is very good. The only place offensively I would say he has a bit of an issue is off set pieces. Despite being 6'5", he's not that threatening from them. Maybe this is something he'll get a bit better at as he gets older. But last season, I wasn't very impressed from him in set pieces. Defensive-wise, in terms of actual skill, he's probably average. I don't say he did anything that impressed me or unimpressed me last season. But defensively, you do have some of his weaknesses, which is that he is lightweight. So he is perhaps easier than other centre-backs to get knocked off the ball, which, again, is young. As he gets a bit older, he might put a bit more size on and help out in that regard. But being lightweight probably adds to another one of his issues, which is that he's quite injury-prone. So I doubt you'll get a full season from him. I think we got about 21 games, last season. And that was with him spending most of the season here. The final weakness is that he is prone to mistakes, which obviously at this level, a mistake can quite often lead to a goal. So it's not great. For Luton, I think he'd be quite good, because he will be playing in a back three by the look of it, which suits him, because I wouldn't trust him in a back four. I think he needs 2 centre-backs with him to mitigate for any mistakes he makes. I've seen you've got an obligation to buy if certain conditions are met. My only fear with that is, based off what I've seen, I'm not sure how well he'll cut it at higher levels. I assume you guys would like to get back to the Premier League, or at least top end of Championship. And I don't quite think Longwijk's level is there. So this season, I think he'll be really good for you and an asset. But if you have to purchase him next season, I could possibly see him being dropped to a bench player. But I would counter that by saying, since he's quite young, there is quite a bit of room for improvement there. So you could be onto a hidden gem if you utilise him right and if he progresses with you. I could possibly see him getting to top-end championship level, but I think that would require the right level of mentoring and the right things to align. But yeah, like I said, for now, you've got a good player. I think he'll be good for you this season, and excited to see how he progresses with you.
Big thank you to Joe, James and Will. If you didn't know, Nigel Longwick won promotion at Plymouth Argyle, so I thought it was very important to get a Plymouth fan's thoughts on him. And also last season, Nigel was on loan at Huddersfield for the season, so I thought let's get James and Will's thoughts on that loan move which he just recently had at the football club. He's 22 years old, he turns 23 this year, on loan from Wolves with an option to buy if certain targets are reached. Now, I think that basically means if Luton win promotion, we can sign him on a permanent transfer. That's what I believe it means. I think it's really good to have that option in the contract because we know what it's like when you fall in love with a loan player and then you're unable to get that player the following season. So hopefully Nigel does have a fantastic year. In fact, a couple of seasons ago, he spent the second half of the year under Matt Bloomfield at Wycombe. So Matt Bloomfield has already worked with Nigel Longwick, which is fantastic. At least Matt already has a little bit of insight about him. As I've already mentioned, last season he played for Huddersfield on loan. He featured 26 times. I believe the appearances, it would have been a lot more if he didn't sustain a hamstring injury towards the back end of the season. Now, from what I've been told, he is the League One Van Dijk, very tall centre half, 6'5". In fact, even Hakeem Odoffin is quite a tall player as well. So we're signing a lot of height in this summer transfer window, which is good. So we become even more of a threat from set pieces going forward. Nigel Longwick, from what I've been told, is both-footed. He can play on the left and on the right. He can actually, in fact, play as a left back and also as a right back. Although he did spend majority of his time at Huddersfield playing as a centre back, he can fill in at fullback. Whether or not he's going to do that for us, I am not too sure. But at least we have, again, another player that is a little bit versatile in playing in more than one position. But from what I've seen, and I don't know too much about him, but from what I've seen, one-on-one defending, very good. However, despite being a big man, not the best in the air. So we're going to have to wait and see on that. But overall, the three signings I'm quite happy with. Yes, we're not spending money, but I just want the right characters in. I want the right players in. And if you can get the right player in for £0 rather than spending £5 million, then I think we should just do the smart option and just get the player on the free. We don't have to spend money. We might have it. Doesn't mean we need to spend it. There's going to be a time and place to spend that sort of money. That's when we can do it. Don't need to do it now in the summer window when you can get decent players on a free transfer. And if you look at Luton's history, a lot of our better players are free transfers rather than us actually spending some money. Do I think Luton are going to stop signing players? No, I think we are not done yet. I think we are going to have a couple more outgoings, and I do believe we are going to have a couple more incomings. We're not having a repeat of last summer. Hopefully you guys have learnt that from me. I do believe when I have a feeling inside, I back it till the very end until I don't believe anymore. So hopefully you've learnt a few things about myself. I do believe that this year is going to be a special year. I believe Matt can get a really good reaction out of these players. I think he's building something special. And at the moment, I think the recruitment has been quite good. Players which we needed in terms of experience and leadership. Players that are young and hungry. And also players that have done well at previous clubs. It's exactly what we wanted. It's just a shame that we didn't do this last summer. But anyway, 6 signings. I'm absolutely happy that we've managed to bring these players through the door. And lastly, let's talk about this kit. The away shirt. I don't understand why it's blue. It's a very unique shirt. That's how I'm going to leave it. I don't really get the blue. and the blue is bothering me. When I first looked at it, I did actually thought training kit. It's not. It is the away shirt. It is blue and white. I have to be honest, I'm not really a fan. I might have to see this in person and I might like it. I've seen mixed reactions online. The same with the home shirt. The home shirt is massively growing on me as I've seen it in person already. But the away shirt, I need to see it in person. But right now, I'm not a fan of it and I don't understand the blue. I much would rather have had an all-white kit. I really hope the third kit's black. I love a black kit. I think black kits are very smart, clean. You can't really go wrong with a black kit. But that's my thoughts on the kit. But at the end of the day, I don't care what we wear as long as we win football matches playing in it. So yeah, that is the most important. Thank you all for watching. Lots to talk about in this video. I can imagine it's a very long one for you guys all to watch. So hopefully you did enjoy it. Smash that like button. Thank you to everyone that featured in my video as well. Their insight on the players is massively helpful. Their links will be down in the video description if you want to follow any of the guys that featured in today's video. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. Subscribe to my channel if you are new, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video.